What if the devil himself put a curse on a movie? And after its release, reality began to copy the script, killing everyone involved. Welcome to JustSneak. Don't even think about scrolling away before you subscribe. Today, we're diving into the darkest depths of old Hollywood. We're talking about the 1968 masterpiece, Rosemary's Baby by Roman Polanski. The film they were afraid to make, the picture cursed by the church, and the movie that turned the lives of its creators into a living hell. Buckle up. It's going to be terrifying. Are you ready for the most disturbing fact? The director of this film fled America in 1978 because he was facing prison for raping a 13-year-old girl, and today he's still walking free. But let's take it from the top. In the late 60s, producer William Castle, the king of gimmick horror movies, bought the film rights to Ir-11's novel before it was even published. Castle was obsessed with this project. He wanted to prove he could make adult horror without cheap special effects. But Paramount's head, Robert Evans, flatly said Castle would not be the director. Instead, he brought in a young, wildly talented Polish filmmaker who had made Knife in the Water and Repulsion, Roman Polanski. A real battle began. Castle cried in his office, begging them to give him the film. He screamed that it was his ticket to the big league. But Evans was unmoved. In the end, Castle agreed to be a producer, taking a buyout. But his resentment was so deep that he swore, "This film will bring Polanski nothing but misfortune." As we know today, that's exactly what happened. Now imagine what actress Mia Farrow went through. Her husband, the legendary Frank Sinatra, a man with iron fists and mafia connections, demanded that she drop everything and leave the production immediately. The conflict at the start of the project was incredible. Sinatra, used to having the world revolve around him, was furious that his young wife had left for Los Angeles for 6 months. He demanded that Farrow dump Polanski and star in his film instead. Mia refused. So Sinatra personally drove to the Paramount studio, stormed into Evans's office, and announced that he would break his contract with the studio unless they released his wife. When that didn't work, he simply sent Mia a lawyer with divorce papers, right on the movie set. Frank Sinatra abandoned his pregnant wife in the middle of the most psychologically brutal scenes, and Mia Farrow was left alone, without money, without a husband, but with a role that would make her famous forever. How's that for a Hollywood scandal? Frank Sinatra was so angry that he wouldn't even give Mia back her beloved dog, the one he had given her. The dog stayed with the singer. The famous scene where Rosemary is raped by a demon went around the world. But few know that during the filming, Mia Farrow herself was terrified of Polanski. The shoot was a true test of endurance. Polanski, known for his obsessive control, demanded total realism from his actors. In the scene where Rosemary thrashes in a nightmare on the bed, Farrow was tied to the mattress with real ropes. She stayed in that position for hours. But the creepiest thing happened during the scene where Rosemary eats raw liver. Polanski made the actress chew an actual piece of meat that was on the verge of going bad. Farrow was a committed vegetarian. She threw up between takes, but she kept going because Polanski needed the perfect shot. No one knows how many tranquilizers Mia took to survive that nightmare. Do you know why Jack Nicholson auditioned for Rosemary's husband but was rejected? Polanski personally said, "His face looks too evil, and that's for a character, the husband, who sells his own child to Satanists." And in the end, John Cassavetes played the husband, and he and Polanski constantly fought on set. Cassavetes thought Polanski was an upstart and demanded that all his scenes be rewritten. But let's finally talk about the plot. A young couple moves into an old New York building. Their neighbors are a strange elderly couple. Rosemary starts having terrifying visions, and she begins to believe that her baby belongs to the devil. Polanski brilliantly keeps the audience guessing until the very end. But beneath this supernatural thriller lies a cynical theme. At its core, Rosemary's Baby is a story about a woman's fear of pregnancy, her loss of bodily autonomy, and a soulless husband willing to feed his wife to monsters for the sake of his career. The irony is that the studio and the censors accused the film of promoting Satanism. The Catholic Legion of Decency gave it their highest danger rating, C for condemned. The Catholic Church forbade believers from watching the film. Imagine that 1968, and priests are saying, "Do not go see Rosemary's Baby. It's a mockery of religion." Yes, the film mocks the nature of faith, but that's exactly what made it a cult classic. People flocked to theaters to see what the Vatican had banned. Nevertheless, the picture was a wild success. On a budget of just over $3 million, the film grossed over $30 million at the box office. It won an Oscar and a Golden Globe. But that triumph was the beginning of the curse. Just weeks after the film left theaters, terrible things happened. The film's composer, the brilliant Krzysztof Komeda, returned from a party in Los Angeles and fell off a cliff. Witnesses claimed a friend had playfully pushed him, but no one understood how such a thing could happen. Komeda fell into a coma and died months later. The most chilling coincidence. In the film, Rosemary's friend dies by falling out of a window, and everyone knows it was the work of Satanists. Komeda's real death mirrored the on-screen death of his own character. But the most devastating blow was yet to come for Polanski. 1 year after Rosemary's Baby was released, the director's pregnant wife, actress Sharon Tate, was brutally murdered by members of Charles Manson's cult. The gang broke into the house while Polanski was in Europe. Tate, carrying a baby, begged her killers to spare her child. She was stabbed 16 times. The house was bathed in blood. By a horrible irony, the Satanists chose that house because it belonged to a producer who had refused Manson a music contract. But the previous owner had already moved out. Sharon Tate was living there instead. After that, the successful director fell apart. Polanski started using drugs, living a wild life. And in 1977, another scandal erupted. The 43-year-old director was arrested for raping a 13-year-old girl. He pleaded guilty to unlawful sexual intercourse with a minor and, fearing prison, fled the United States. He still lives in Europe today. Many Hollywood stars signed petitions in his defense. But years later, much like with director David Lynch, they publicly regretted it. Hollywood loves talent, even if that talent is a monster. Now, let's face the truth. Why does the regime we call fascist love this film so much? Because it's about fear, total paranoia. A victim whose body is used without consent. That fear is branded into the minds of an entire generation. They live in a world where every neighbor is an informant, where a husband betrays you, where the authorities conspire against you, and they are comfortable with that. They don't need critical thinking. They just need to be afraid. Rosemary's Baby is a film without borders. It lies at the foundation of a culture where mysticism, degradation, and pure, unadulterated evil have merged. Without it, there would have been no Exorcist, no Omen. But the price of that influence was ruined lives. Polanski fled justice. Mia Farrow buried her career in a string of scandals with Woody Allen. William Castle never made another successful film and died in poverty. Krzysztof Komeda and Sharon Tate are dead. Here at JustSneak, we believe that Rosemary's Baby is a litmus test of our morality. If you watch this film and see only brilliant cinematography, you've missed the horror. The horror is that the film stock itself soaked up real blood. And today, that blood fuels an ideology where human life is worthless, and the devil always wins. Hit like if you made it to the end with your sanity intact. Subscribe to JustSneak so we can keep exposing the rot of old and new Hollywood. And in the comments, tell us, do you think the film is cursed? Or has the evil it spawned always lived inside society just waiting for an excuse to crawl out?